My name is Guardian Christian. I'm the self-defense survival instructor. In today's training, we're going to review some body techniques, some general awareness techniques. We're going to focus on front trainings, right? So if someone attacks you from the front, what you would do, right? At the end of the day, we want your options to be fight and flight, right? We don't want freeze to be an option, so that's how we're here to train. And I'm a former active duty U.S. Marine, so to those Marines out there, happy birthday. It is the Marine Corps birthday today, November 10th, 1775. Tomorrow being Friday is Veterans Day, so happy Veterans Day to those who are veterans. I'm the current USA boxing coach, as well as a trainer here based in New York City with Trifecta, a fitness, health and wellness company that teaches classes, one-on-one training, and has the Trifecta method, which is a combination of boxing, yoga, and HIIT, available on iOS and iPad through the Apple Store. So today, like I said, we have a few more minutes before we begin, about 1 more minute. We're gonna discuss self-defense survival training. We'll do some review some techniques, review some form. So when we first started this training, it was about 6 weeks in length. And then we were going to restart the training. And I realized in terms of repetition and just retention, shorter time frame. So we're doing 3 weeks, right? So it's the same materials, just repackaged, restructured. Right, so that way we can get more reps in. Right? Because the key for self-defense survival training is making it second nature, making it instinctual. So with that being said, we are going to review the moves, practice the moves. We're going to do the same next week. We're going to add new moves. We're going to do the same third week, add new moves, and then we're going to continue to review that. So this is once a week training. Continue to come to this class every Thursday. So that way you will learn new moves, reinforce moves that you've already learned, and continue to train your instinctual nature to act and be proactive, right? Because most of us are reactive when it comes to self-defense survival. And the more we train, the better we become at being proactive. All right. So that being said, move this out the way. Different setup today. Let me pull up the chat. So that way, if you all do have any questions, I will be able to see it. And no one said they could not hear me, so you all can still hear me, correct?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. All right. So let's start off. And we're going to start off with just warming up our bodies. All right. So we're going to start that. Let me pull this. There we go. Like I said, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. You can also just unmute. All right. So we're going to 3-point touch, feet shoulder width apart, touch middle, touch left, touch right, and then straight up. Middle, left, right, and then straight up. All right. And keep that going. And one thing I want you to remember when we're doing these moves and we're drilling these exercises, continue to do it until I say to move on. So if you see me stop, right, this isn't a class where it's watch the instructor and repeat. Right, this is a class where I teach, demonstrate, and you execute. Right, because when it comes to self-defense survival, you're not going to have someone that you can look at and be like, okay, no, I'm supposed to do this. All right, so we want to create that fast learning, right, so it becomes something that you retain. All right, keep that going, keep that going. A few more seconds. And time. All right, now let's walk it out to a plank and let's walk it back to our feet. Walk your hands out to a plank. Walk your hands back to your feet. Walk your hands out to a plank. Walk your hands back to your feet. Walk your hands out to a plank. Walk your hands back to your feet. All right, let's keep that going. Now, when it comes to self-defense survival training, right, we're going over these moves, reviewing these moves with the intent for you to know them, practice them, and become second nature, right? Because when it comes to self-defense situations, there's fight, flight, or freeze, right? May have also heard it as from some other trainings, right? Run, hide, fight, right? And another correlation, right? The run would be flight, hide would be freeze, and then fight is the same in both of them, right? When it comes to self-defense, survival, keep walking those hands out. Freeze is a reaction for those who have not trained self-defense survival training or have not put themselves in the mindset of, hey, this potentially could happen to me. All right. Time. All right, let's do high knee pull. So lift the knee, grab the front of the knee with both hands, and lift it up. Lift it up. All right. So what we're doing with our training is ensuring that freeze is not an option, and we're either flighting, i.e. running and removing ourselves from the situation, or we're fighting. All right. And so with that flight, it's very simple. That's about general awareness, and we'll go over that in the very beginning. And then the fight is something that's not ideal. However, most situations, you may find yourself having to fight, even if it's a little bit at the beginning, and then you can flight, but fight will normally happen in a self-defense survival situation. And time, let's go big arm circles forward, big arm circles forward, big arm circles forward. There we go, good, good, good. Keep it going, keep it going. Good, big arm circles forward, big arm circles forward and backwards, big arm circles backwards. All right, good, good, good. And time. All right, now let's lunge and rotate both sides, stand it up. Lunge and rotate both sides. Now, some of you may be wondering, wait, we're doing self-defense survival training. Why am I doing warm-up exercise? Why am I beginning to do a workout, right? When it comes to self-defense survival, when you're in that real world situation, you're going to find yourself with spiked hormones, right? Stress levels high, adrenaline raging, right? Hormones at a level above what is normal for you, right? And so if you're training at a normal level of hormones, right, and adrenaline and energy, when you find yourself in a situation, there may be things you forget, may be things that you're not able to regulate, all right? So we want to get us as close to that situation as possible without putting us in a situation. So we do that by getting our heart rate up, so that when we're going over these moves, it helps us retain that memory, all right? And time, all right, let's go right into push-ups, hands underneath the shoulders, feet shoulder width apart, down and up. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose down, exhale through the mouth up. All right, let's keep that going. Let's go, let's go, let's keep that going. Good. 15 more seconds of push-ups. 15 more seconds of push-ups. 10 more seconds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time. Feet shoulder width apart, stomach towards the spine, shoulders back, chest up, down and up, down and up, down and up, down and up. All right, keep that shoulders back, chest up, stomach towards the spine, push the butt back, just like that. All right, let's get it, let's get it. Just like that. When I move, you move. Just like that. 5 more seconds. Sorry, 15 more seconds, 15 more seconds. I missed that one. Keep going, keep going. There we go, all the way down, all the way up. Inhale through your nose down, exhale through your mouth up. And 3, 2, 1, and time. All right, first thing we're gonna do when it comes to self-defense survival is body language, body position. All right, they've done surveys of people who attacked. They said, hey, why did you attack? What about this person made you think that they were a victim? And the number one reason was body language. They seemed unaware, they seemed uninterested, they seemed to not be abreast to the surroundings of their environment. So first thing you want to do, feet shoulder width apart, stomach towards the spine, shoulders back, chest up, hands relaxed. This right here is what we call the warrior stance, right? Because if you're Warriors are always ready, no matter what, right? Whether they're at home, whether they're on the battlefield, wherever they are, they're always ready, right? So you want to always be ready. So if you're in this warrior stance, you're communicating to anyone who may be, any would-be attackers, hey, I am ready to defend myself. I'm ready to survive. All right. So now you can see everything in front of you. Your eyes are up, they're not looking down, right? You know, this is 2022. Most everyone has a cell phone. Most people, when they have their cell phones, they look at it like this, right? Not only is that bad for your neck, but it's also bad for your visual perception to be able to perceive any potential threats or danger. But if you hold your phone like this, you can still, you're somewhat blocked right because your phone in front of you, but I can still see around the phone. And it still gives the perception, and that's what we're talking about, the perception. That's why people are attacked, the perception they give, right? So you're just like this, right? And those are the body language. You have shoulders slumped, looking sad, right? Kind of like this confident power stance. Right now, if someone does start to approach you, at this point, you communicate it to everyone around you, hey, I know what's going on, and I'm aware. But someone may still decide, hey, you know what? I think I can take them. I think I'm stronger than them. I still want to attack them. If that's the case, you can sense this, right? That's that instinctual nature where you're like, hey, I don't feel comfortable. This person seems odd. Their behavior is abnormal. And if you notice them approaching you, the next thing you want to do is communicate, verbalize. Hey, please stay away from me. I don't feel comfortable with you moving towards me. Communicating, because not only have you communicated body language, hey, you're aware, but now you're acknowledging, hey, I can see you. I acknowledge you, right? Some people say, well, won't that antagonize? It is a possibility, right? When it comes to self-defense survival, these techniques, these tactics, these moves we're learning are to increase the chance of survival, to increase the chance of you leaving from a survival situation alive, right? That's the goal, to get out alive, right? Nothing is guaranteed when it comes to self-defense survival. So if you've ever taken a course and they've told you, hey, you do this move, 100% guarantee it's going to work and you're going to get out. That's not how life works. We all know that, right? But will it increase your chances? Is it a high probability that if you execute it, it will work? Yes, all right? So if you communicate it, they may stop and they redirect their attention, or they may still approach you. At that point, you now know, hey, I can either flight or fight, right? You can flight, and you can make that decision beforehand as well, right? But in terms of, hey, I have to make a decision between one of the two, if you've shown your body language, you're standing in that warrior stance, you communicate it verbally, and they're still approaching, you still feel at risk, you still feel at danger, at this point you say, hey, let me remove myself from the situation. Like, okay, can I get out? No, I can't get out. I'm blocked in. Now I have to fight. All right. So at this point, warrior stance, fighting warrior stance, putting those hands like this. Now it directly communicates, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I am ready to fight for my life. And I am getting out of this situation alive, no matter what. All right. That is general body language that you want to communicate to any type of potential would-be attacker. Stand that fighting, standing that warrior stance, you verbalize, hey, stay away from me, get away from me. I don't feel safe, you're making me feel uncomfortable. I feel that you're a threat, you're a danger to me. They still keep walking. You still communicate, you can still verbalize, now you put the hands out. Hands up in that fighting warrior stance, you can even communicate. I don't want to attack you, I don't want to have to attack. I will attack if you continue to move closer, right? Communicating to a would-be attacker, like, I want to acknowledge you, I see you, but I'm ready to fight for my life. All right, now let's go over those first moves when it comes to self-defense survival, right? And most the times when I teach this class, right, and most self-defense classes and most self-defense instructors will start with hand punching, elbows, arms, right? Which is what's normal for us as humans, right? Our most common thing when someone attacks you is a slap, punch, kick, hit, right? Or sorry, not kick, but sorry, hit with the hands. However, your legs are going to be something that is a surprise and a shock to an attacker, right? Like I said before, most attackers attack because they see their victim is unaware or their victim appears vulnerable, right? And when they're attacking, they expect some sort of resistance, right? Especially if someone's unaware, right? That shock and surprise causes people to react without, what's the word I want to use? It causes a person to react unnaturally, right? Because normally if you know someone's grabbing you, right, to hug you, you may go like this, you may try to hug back. But if you don't know someone's trying to like bear hug you or someone's trying to touch you or grab you, you may swing wild, right? Your behavior is going to become wild. So they expect some sort of resistance, but they expect from the upper body. They don't expect from the lower body. And when it comes to self-defense survival training, you're doing moves that are going to give you an advantage position. They're going to give you an advantage in the situation, and they're going to shock and surprise the attacker to give you the advantage, right? So you're here, you see someone walking, hey, please stop walking towards me. I don't feel safe if you walk towards me. They keep going. Hey, I will attack if I need to. I will attack if I need to. At this point, if they're within a range that you assess, like let's say you put your arm out, and like, hey, I can hit them in their face or hit them in their chest, that means that you're close enough for your feet in the front heel kick, all right? Now, every move we're gonna learn, you're gonna take the hard part of your body, so that's the hands and the knuckles, the elbows, the side of the hands, the knees, the top of the foot, the heel, hard part of your body to the soft parts of the attacker, right? So I'm here, I've communicated, the attack still keeps coming. Instead of being punching with the left hand, right hand strikes being my first reaction, which is going to be expected, I want a front heel kick, all right? So just like this, I showed you that side profile, front heel kick, front heel kick, front heel kick. So where you're aiming at, the knee, all right? That's where you're aiming. You're aiming at that knee because this is a move that if anyone watches mixed martial arts, those leagues, a move that in most leagues is illegal. Sorry, it is legal, but it's kind of the unwritten rules that you don't execute it. Because if you take a front heel, you kick it against the knee, if you're bent, if you're straight, no matter what, with enough force, you push it backwards, you immobilize that leg, and you can cause a lot of damage or pain. And that's what we want to do. We want to cause as much damage and as much pain as soon as we can to an attacker. So you're here, you're communicating, we're front heel kicking, all right? Front heel kicking, all right? Let me see it. Let me see it. Those of you who have your cameras on, let me see those front heel kicks. There we go. Good, good, good. And one thing I want you to keep in mind when you're front heel kicking, you're not leaning back, right? You're not leaning back. Keeping that weight centered, right? Front heel kick, 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 all right? And keeping it low. Keeping it low. There we go. Good, good, good. We're practicing this, right? One, to instill it into our minds, to bring that retention, to practice the form and technique of it, right? And also, it keeps that adrenaline high, keeps our heart rate up, so it puts us as close to that feeling of a self-defense survival situation as possible, right? And time, right now, we communicate it and verbalize that front heel kick, right? That's what you want your first move to be, because it's a surprise, it's a shock, and execute it. Let's say you hit the knee, maybe it doesn't go all the way back, right? But it may cause them to stop a little bit. It's going to cause them, wait, did they just kick me? Right? Because if you think of most fights, right, in the social media world today, people stream fights or they'll put it on, right? You don't see most people go with the kick first, whether it's a street fight or whether it's a legal fight. Most people are going with their hands first. So it's shock and surprise. If you execute it, you've now stopped them in the moment. So instead of them now continue walking forward, boom, you take their knee out, now they're on the ground, right? Now they have one leg. And if they have one leg, at that point you assess, hey, can I get out of this situation, right? So let's say someone's walking towards me, I go, boom, and they fall. At this point, hey, there was no way for me to exit. Exit's that way, right, behind them. Can I get past them without them still being able to attack me? In this situation, right, we're in a small corridor. If I knock them down here, they can still grab them with their hand. So that's not ideal for me. However, if I kick and they go down, at that point, I want to use my knees, right? And if they're down, I want to grab the back of my head with the fingers that are locked and bring the face to my knee, right? Soft part of their body, that's their face, right? Their nose, their cheek, right? To my knee, just like that, right? Just like that. All right, so you're grabbing, boom, boom. This is if you execute that front kick, and I've gone down, all right? So keep going. You're gonna grab the back of their head with those fingers interlocked, right? Kind of like when we did the high knee pull. And you're gonna grab the back of their head and pull their face to your knee. Pull their face to your knee, just like that, all right? Keep going. Pulling that face to the knee. Pulling that face to the knee. Good. Good, good, good. Here we go. 15 more seconds. Pulling that face to the knee. Pulling that face to the knee. All right. So at this point, you're driving the knee, the bone of your knee into their face to break their nose, to shatter their cheekbone, right? You want to draw blood, knock their teeth out, right? Force their mouth to get cut in time, all right? So at this point, they may be saying, hey, please stop. Please, I'll let you go. Please stop hurting me. Here's one thing I want you to keep in mind when it comes to a self-defense survival situation and this is kind of one of those, you know, you kind of have to put yourself in that situation now to kind of retrain your mind, right? As humans, we want to give compassion, we want to give mercy. However, in these situations, there's no mercy or compassion unless you have 100% certainty that you can get out of that situation alive. So if you find yourself front kicking, right, front heel kicking, they collapse, you knee them, right, you're kneeing them, and then they're saying, hey, please stop. And you know, hey, if I stop, there may be a chance that they can still attack me. You don't stop, all right? So let's say you're kneeing and they fall and collapse on the ground. You're like, all right, now I can get by. Then you fight. You remove yourself from the situation. However, let's say they fall to the ground, but you're like, hey, they still could grab me. They may be able to trip me with the other leg. At this point, now they're on the ground. So you're like, how do I attack them from the ground? Right? You could go down and try to punch them, but now you're taking the advantage that you have and you're reducing the advantage. You may even be putting yourself at a disadvantage. You don't want to go down with your hands because if they grab your hand, now they can pull you down, they can attack you, they can punch you back. If they're on the ground, once again, we're still with the feet, right? They're still in front of us. We'll take our heel, right? And we're stomping, heel stomping, and we're aiming at the ankles and knees, all right? And you may be saying, hey, well, Gardy, why the ankle and knee? Why not the face? Why not the chest? Because they have their arms. So if I go to stomp their face, they can grab my leg. They can pull me down. They can trip me up. But if I'm stomping out their ankles and legs, they have to lift their body up to come grab it. And if you're doing it fast and with speed and with power, right, that pain is going to be too much to the point where they may not, where the probability of them coming up to grab you is less, and the probability of them trying to get away is going to be higher, right? So I want you to do this heel stomp, this boom, heel stomping, right? Aiming at the ankle, aiming at the knee, lower part of the body, right? Because now at this point, I'm shattering their ankle, I'm shattering their knee. As a person who's had their Achilles ruptured, right, from a direct kick to it, it is very painful. It's immense pain, and it sends shock waves through the body. Now, when I had my Achilles ruptured, I was directly kicked in it. The amount of pain, I immediately collapsed. I was standing up, got kicked, my entire body collapsed. I got maybe it was like a few seconds of a blackout, right? So now imagine, this was someone who was not doing this maliciously. Now imagine someone just attacked you, they fell to the ground, and now you're over here heel stomping with intent to cause harm, to cause pain, because you're like, hey, I have kids, I have a spouse, I have family, I have friends that I want to get back to, that I want to see alive. You're putting that energy into these stomps. Think of the pain that they're feeling. Think of the satisfaction you're going to get to say, hey, I know that I was able to get myself out of this situation and get out alive. And time, right? So we just quickly reviewed the front heel kick, aiming at the knees, right? If their body collapses, right, they double over, maybe they fall to the ground, grabbing the back of their head, driving the knee to the face. And then if they are on the ground, they fall to the ground, right? Stomping on the knees, heel stomping on the ankles, not at the upper body, because we do not want to give them a chance to gain the upper hand, to get an advantage, all right? So now let's go back to the beginning of the situation, right? Let's say, hey, you've done self-defense training, survival training. You know that, hey, I should probably go with the feet first to attack. But like I said, we're simulating as close as we can to self-defense survival, all right? To that actual situation. So most people are going to go with the hands first. So we've already communicated body language, we've verbalized with that fighting stance. They're coming closer, right? And we know, like, hey, if we stick our hand out, we can touch their face. That's where we're going to start doing left hand, right hand strikes. Left hand, right hand strikes, right? Just like this. Left hand, right hand strikes. Left hand, right hand strikes, all right? Letting our hands go, right? Hitting those knuckles, right? Those top knuckles, right? Top knuckles, right? Turning the fist over, rotating the hips, and we're aiming at the cheekbone, the nose, the temples, the chin, right? Right? And even the ears, the neck, right? Let's say, hey, what if they're much taller than me? Solar plex, right there. Right? You touch the chest, this little bone, rib cage, the rest of the rib cage, hitting right there, that solar plex knocks the wind out, hitting them in the stomach, hitting them in the groin, all right? So we're aiming at those soft spots, right? So if you're the same height, maybe they're a little bit taller, a little bit shorter, aiming at the face, aiming at the neck area, right? If you ever punch the neck, it hurts, right? And if you're much shorter, aiming the stomach, aiming at the groins, turning those knuckles over, bringing those hands back to the head. All right, so let's keep going, let's keep going. All right, we're rotating those hips, rotating those hips, rotating those hips, rotating those hips, letting those hands go, rotating those hips, letting those hands go, just like that. Good, good, good. There we go, keep going, keep going. All right, 45 seconds. All right, we're gonna generate that heart rate. We wanna keep our heart rate up, because here's one thing also to keep in mind. In a self-defense trial situation, it's not gonna be just a few seconds, maybe a few minutes, all right? So this training that we're doing now helps also increase our endurance as well as the form of technique, all right? So if you're like, hey, Gardy, I don't really work out, right? But I'm taking these self-defense survival training so I know what to do, right? Even something as simple as walking every day will help improve your endurance, improve your heart rate. So when you find yourself in this situation, you're in better shape. Because the better shape you are in, the better chance of you surviving, all right? And time, all right? So we've executed the left hand strike, right hand strike, right? This is at full range, right? Let's say they keep coming in towards us. So our punches are shorter, right? We want to be able to maximize the power and damage we can create, right? At this point, we want to use those elbows, right? So those horizontal forward elbow strike, just like that, just like that. Good, 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 good. There we go. Forward elbow strikes. Good, just like that. Forward elbow strikes. Good, good, good. There we go. And still rotating those hips. Now, for those who've taken mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, they say, hey, well, I normally stand in this stance, fighting stance. Yes, that would be ideal, right? You can get yourself in that situation, that's how you want to execute. But we're training for real life, real world, all right? So with that being said, most times we're standing with our feet shoulder apart, maybe our feet together, but most people are not standing with the foot like that, all right? So that's why we're learning from this, because like I said, you keep coming to these courses, you keep practicing on your own, becomes second nature, and you find yourself in the situation, you're just throwing elbows naturally, all right? Keep going, 15 more seconds, 15 more seconds. Good, throwing those elbows, throwing those elbows, throwing those elbows. Good, good, good. Throwing those forward horizontal elbows. And time. All right, now let's say, you know what? You communicated, you're in that fighting warrior stance, and they move with a lot of speed and kind of took you just by surprise, and you weren't able to throw a punch, throw a left hand strike, right hand strike, you were able to throw forward horizontal elbows, and they got in close, right? Very close to you, maybe they grab you, maybe they hit you, right? Maybe because you're in a space like this, they're up on you, pressuring you, right? So full range, left hand strikes, right hand strikes are gonna really work, right? Those forward horizontal elbow strikes are gonna be effective, right? That's when you have that chin jab strike, right? Because they're up close to you, and you're already here, so maybe they bum rush you, they knock you, boom, and they try to start hitting you, right? But their face is gonna be right here, boom, 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 right? Literally taking the chin, taking the bottom of the palm, which is the hard part of your hand, and going to the chin, knocking the head back, right? Going towards the nose, knocking the nose up, right? And one thing to keep in mind, when it comes to self-defense survival moves, you want to go after the largest surface area. Because that way, if you miss the chin, maybe you hit the side of it, right? You miss the nose, you miss their face entirely, you don't create any damage right now. You expose yourself, right? So go after that chin, just like this. They're short chin jab strikes, short, very short, but effective, right? It's like doing an uppercut, right? So instead of doing an uppercut where you need to turn your hand, right? Or where if you punch this, you could hit the softer knuckles, right? Possibly break your fingers with a chin jab strike. It gets you the same result of uppercut with a little less movement, all right? Just like that, just like that. There we go, chin jab strike, boom, boom, boom. There we go, good, good, good. And we're rotating those hips. The hip rotation is what's generating a lot of that power, all right? Hip rotation is what's generating a lot of that power. We have 30 more seconds. Go chin jab strike, chin jab strike, chin jab strike, chin jab strike, boom, 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 boom. There we go, just like that, good, good, good. Keep going with those chin jab strikes, keep going, keep going. There you go, last 10 seconds, last 10 seconds. Good. With those chin jab strikes, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time. All right, good. Now, let's say, hey, they're close up, right? Or maybe they're not as close, like pressed on the body, so where you connect to the chin ab strike. Maybe they're a little bit, they're close enough to where you can barely execute the forward horizontal elbow strikes, but they're not as effective, right? At this point, you want to do the horizontal hammer fist, right? So we're using the side of that fist, right? We're kind of going just like this, right? So they're not close enough to where you want to use the chin jab strikes. Maybe you have to push your hand out a little bit further, right? But they're too close to where if you use the elbow, maybe you're hitting with like the shin a little bit, right? Excuse me, not the shin, the forearm. The forearm and shin are very similar in terms of the bone damage that it creates, right? So maybe you're hitting with close towards on the forearm. So at this point, you do the horizontal hammer fist. So just like this, all right? Just like this, all right? Right, hitting, and with the horizontal hammer fist, you're aiming at the neck. You're aiming at the arteries, all right? That's where we're aiming with that, all right? So just like this, just like that. Aim, 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 hit, right? Horizontal hammer fist, going across the body, right? And let's say you're like, hey, Guardian, this person is much taller than me. I can't even reach their neck. Going to the sides, horizontal hammer fist to the sides of their body, to the sides of their neck. All right, let's go. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Good, good, good. Here we go. We're rotating, 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 rotating. There we go. Keep it going. 15 more seconds. 15 more seconds. Rotating those hips with the horizontal hammer fist. Once again, aiming at the neck area, aiming at the side of the body, all right? And let's say maybe they're much taller than you, right? Aiming at the sides of the thighs, right? Sides of the calves, right? Maybe they're protecting their body, right? Aiming at the sides of the arm, right? Soft parts of their body using those hammer fists, right? You hit enough times in the arm with those hammer fists, it'll create some pain, all right? And with some of these moves that we're executing, right? Some of these moves are executing, it may not cause damage, but it may distract, it may disrupt them from being able to attack you, and it may set you up to be able to execute other moves that can create damage, all right? So going to some of those moves again, right? That front heel kick, that's a move that you're executing to create damage, right? That knee, front knee, you got the back of the head, that's to create damage. The stomp with the heels, right? That's to create damage, all right? Left hand, right hand strike is to distract, disrupt, right? Keep them away from you, right? It creates a little damage, right? But it's more so like where they go, you know what? I don't want to keep attacking. I'm going to back off, right? Those horizontal forward elbows creating damage and same, right? More disruption, right? Those chin jab strikes, you're creating damage, right? You're trying to snap their neck back. You're trying to create neck pain, neck damage, maybe tear some ligaments or joints, depending on how hard you're able to execute those chin jab strikes. Same for the hammer fist, right? A lot of disruption. When it creates some damage, there's going to be more disruption. Right? So if you notice, when it comes to using the legs, right, those feet executable attacks, those are creating more damage versus the hands, it's more distract and disrupt, right? Higher volume for the hands to create damage versus the feet. You don't have to have as much volume to create damage. Right, so we've executed, we just went over some of the moves that we've executed in terms of if someone's attacking you in front, right? Now, we talked about how if you kick them in the knee, with the front heel kick and then knee them because they're down, we talk about that punches, right? So let's say you punch them, right? Or maybe they trip on something, maybe they stumble, maybe you punch them in the gut and they kind of double over slightly, right? So they don't go down like you did like when you kick, but they go down in terms of their height just enough to where it minimizes their advantage. Now at that point, we have what we would call vertical strikes, right? So we have the vertical hammer fist and the vertical elbows, all right? So what do you want to do with those vertical hammer fists is if they're kind of down like this, right? It's the back of their head, back of their neck exposed, the shoulders, and you're boom, boom, boom. Right, kind of like you're pounding away, right? Pounding at those shoulders, pounding the neck, pounding the back of the head, just like that, right? It may seem similar, right? In a more enjoyable manner. Like you have a partner at home, maybe you have friends that you do with, maybe you're a masseuse yourself, and you massage like this, but you're doing it with ill intent. You're doing it with the intent to cause them harm, to damage them, so you can get out alive, right? So just like that, vertical hammer fist, vertical hammer fist. Let's see it. Getting those vertical hammer fists there. Getting those vertical hammer fists. There we go. Good, good. When you were executing heel strikes in New York, all right, I'll come back to that question. All right? See you there. Boom, 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 boom. Here we go. 10 more seconds, right? And your strike, the goal of doing these vertical hammer fists, right? As you're doing it, if they're already bent over a little bit and you're doing it, they want to get away, right? They're probably them standing up is much lower, probably them going down. And if they go down, I have those knee strikes, you execute those heel strikes, front heel kicks, and time. All right. And the vertical elbows are not a move that most people truly execute. All right, it's not something that you would really use, or you would find yourself using it frequently. However, I want to practice it and I want to teach it just so you're aware. So if you do find yourself in that situation, maybe, hey, what do I do? I can't really, maybe you have your hands up like this, right? And they trip or something, because like you just didn't know how to react. Just put your hands in your head and they bend over and you may freeze. And at this point, boom, boom, vertical elbows, right? She's like, what would I do? What would I do? Vertical elbows, just like that, all right? This is for a few seconds, right? This is one of those things, when it comes to something survival, you're gonna do everything and anything. So there are any moves that we haven't learned here and that you have not taught, that you haven't taken any other courses, that you may just like swinging wild like this, right? It's not necessarily a move that you execute, but when you're in a situation of survival, you're gonna do everything and anything you can, all right? So just using those vertical elbow strikes, just like that, all right? 5 more seconds. We're gonna use vertical elbow strikes. Vertical elbow strikes, once again, aiming back of the head and neck, and time. All right, let me go to this question that we have here. Remember, once again, if any of you have a question, you can always unmute, all right? You can unmute, or you can put it in the chat. So the question here is, when you're executing heel strikes to the knee, are you also throwing punches, or should you kick and keep your hand up to protect your face? All right, that's a perfect question, Carolyn. All right, so here's one thing I want you to remember. All these moves that we're learning them individually, but when it comes to execution, you're gonna execute them in tandem, one after another. You may do some of them simultaneously because you're about survival, all right? So when it comes to that question, right, when I heel kick, boom, I can keep my hands up like this, right? But I can also heel kick and punch, but you also have to think about it like this. If you heel kick, kind of saw, right? Heel kick and punch, it's somewhat awkward, right? And I'm not really generating enough force in a punch, right? Or I may take away from the force of the kick, right? So I teach it like this because if you're kicking properly with the force of that front heel kick, right, it's gonna take that knee out. You actually need to punch simultaneously, right? But let's say you kick and then punch, right? That's something you can do, right? You do them in tandem, right? So let's say you front heel kick, punch, punch, punch. They come up, they're closer, you're moving closer to them, right? Use those elbows. They fall down because they're trying to, their knee hurts, right? Maybe you didn't kick it hard enough to break it or to snap it back, but it hurts enough to where they start dropping their body down, hit them, feel a little bit of pace. Now they're here, and now your knee executing front knees to the face, all right? So when it comes to that question, keeping your hands up allows you to execute it properly and generate the maximum amount of force. However, when you find yourself in a situation, maybe, right, I'm on a wall, right? And so I'm kicking and being able to punch simultaneously, right? So to answer that question, ideally, hands up. However, depending on the environment, depending on the situation, you may be able to kick and punch simultaneously. Not recommend, not encouraged, because if you're executing these moves, you're executing them properly, right, on their own, you'll be able to use other moves immediately after. All right. Any other questions? All right, we got another question. Should we also make a sound with striking? Does it help? Okay, so yes, and here's why it helps, right? So as a boxing coach, boxing trainer, mixed martial arts instructor, right, I've been teaching this for many years, right? It's natural for me to make noises when I punch, right? Because in the sport world, it's a mental aspect. If you're punching someone and you're making noises, it gives the feel that punch is much more effective, right? Even if it doesn't land, it feels like there was a lot of power executing. However, in a self-defense survival situation, that the mental game aspect, that's something that you're worried about. When it comes to making noises, it's to draw the attention of others to you, all right? So for example, you find yourself in a self-defense survival situation, notice at no point did I say, hey, start yelling for help, right? Because as humans, our brains are attuned to danger that can affect us, and that's discriminating, and then danger that can affect us that's indiscriminate. I.e., a human who's punching someone, right, who's fighting someone is discriminate because they can immediately redirect who they want to attack. A fire, right, is danger that's indiscriminate because it's not going to see you and then turn and start trying to burn you. All right. So if you're yelling help, our brains say, hey, that's danger from someone, right? Because if it's from something that's discriminate, because if it's from an inanimate object like fire, we're going to say help, fire, right? Or help, I'm stuck, right? But if it's a person who's being attacked, the common refrain you hear is help, 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 right? So you don't want to yell that because then people say, hey, if I put myself in that situation, this is most people, not all people, right? If I put myself in that situation, I'm now allowing the danger to get to me. So they will actually remove themselves from the situation. Maybe they'll call 911, maybe they won't. Right? They've done studies in this where people have been yelling help, 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 and no one called 911 because they said, oh, someone heard that, someone else heard that, and they'll call. That's kind of one of the reasons why in New York City they have this say something, see something, say something. Because there have been incidents where people were saying nothing even though they saw something because they thought someone else would. So instead of yelling help, right? Because that will remove people away from you, right? You can yell help, fire, right? And yelling other phrases that get people towards you, right? Especially, let's say you're being attacked in a low light environment, or you're being attacked in an isolated environment. But if you're being attacked in an environment where there are people around you, for example, like I said, I live in New York City, so on the subway, right? People get attacked on the subway. Instead of yelling help, because people can see you, people will stop, do nothing, and let people get attacked, right? If you identify someone like, hey, you in the black shirt, help me. Now I feel a personal pull because you identified me, all right? And that also, so not only from the individual, they feel more inclined to want to help because they've been identified, but then other people will be, hey, they're identifying people, let's maybe all help. And that's kind of when you kind of get that, you have, all you need is one person to step in, and the rest of the group will step in. But it's one of those things where when you make noises, it's more so, I make it more so just from the years of training, right, from sports training. You can do it as well, all right? However, the noises you want to make when you're throwing punches, right, you're making it to draw attention, right? So, and one thing with it, it also helps spike that adrenaline and spike it in a positive manner. So if you're punching and screaming like, ah, 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 right? That heightens that adrenaline in you. And now, like even just now, I just did that, right? Wasn't yelling loud, wasn't yelling with excessive force. My heart rate spiked a little bit, and I got a little bit of like, oh, I'm ready, right? So it helps overcome that fear aspect, right? And there's another thing they've done with studies as well, like with pain, right? People hit their knee, boom, and and they yell. And some people may seem excessive, like I didn't like it hurt that bad, but it's literally done studies with this. When you hit yourself and you're feeling your pain, yelling actually reduces the pain faster, right? So if you're hitting someone and striking, yelling actually increases your ability to intensify your strikes. So when you're punching, when you're kicking, when you're being attacked and you're fighting back, you want to yell because it's going to draw attention, right? It doesn't even have to be words. It can just be yelling, like, ah! It draws attention, but also helps intensify and remove some of that fear. Because when it comes to a self-defense situation, you will have fear. And so that leads us back to the beginning when we're going about how to even prevent yourself from getting to that fight, right? Getting to a situation where flight is the option. You can go like this, stay like this, and just yell, right? I live in New York City. If I'm on the subway car and I'm sitting at the end of the car and I hear someone going, ah, I'm looking to see, right? So now my attention's been drawn towards it and I'm trying to make sure that that's not towards me, right? So something to keep in mind. And if someone's being attacked, the attacker most likely doesn't want to draw attention. So if you're yelling like that, it draws attention. Now that attacker, right? You're punching, you're striking them, right? And you're yelling. The attacker goes, you know what? Maybe this isn't worth it, and they may stop and remove themselves. All right. So there's a quick review, right? Went over that front knee kick, went over the knees, and someone falls, went over those heel strikes, aiming towards the knees, ankles, went over those left hand strikes, right hand strikes, went over those forward horizontal elbow strikes, the forward vertical strikes, went over that chin jab strike, right? Went over those hammer fists, horizontal hammer fists, went over the horizontal vertical, right? Now, those are some simple, quick, easy, executable moves that someone attacks you from the front, right? And we'll go more into detail next week, right? But from the back, prevention is always the first thing we want to do, because if we prevent it, what does that mean? We may not even be attacked. So making sure that my back is on the wall, or that there's no space, right? I'm standing so that no one can get behind me. That's the best way to prevent an attack from the rear, right? And then just being aware of your surroundings. So if you're walking down the street and you feel someone behind you, turn around, right? Or you can even stop, turn and look. Most people go, well, I don't want someone to feel uncomfortable or like to be like, hey, why are you staring at me? Or to feel odd. At the end of the day, it's your safety. None of that matters. Right? I had a client, right? We had done some self-defense training. Right? She'd also taken like boxing, some mixed martial arts training. And she was walking home from the subway one night, dimly lit area, and she felt herself being followed. So as she stopped, turned, and there was a fence running alongside the sidewalk. So she stopped with her back to the fence, making sure that whoever was following wouldn't be able to get behind her, and just to make sure, hey, she feels safe because I have something behind me, so now I know that anything that's going to attack me is coming from the front. And it was a man who seen me following her, so he kept going. I kept going. And then this man was still following, so she stopped, right? And as the man got closer, right, she was just like waiting for him to pass. And at that point, he directed his attention towards her, threw 2 punches, and because she had been trained in self-defense survival training, instead of her freezing, right, just like, I don't know what to do, right, she punched back, right, hit the guy once, and because she provided resistance, he took off, right? And so when I talked to her about this, because after this, she filed the police report and did all the necessary steps, right? I said she got hit, but not to the point where severely damaged or injured her. It was more so like this temporary pain, right? And so she was talking about, hey, Guardy, like I can take this up in survival training, like I was in this situation, like what did I do wrong? And I was like, it's not that you did anything wrong, right? And that's something we have to kind of reframe our minds about when it comes to self-defense survival. If you ever found yourself in a situation, it's not, hey, what did you do wrong, right? It's about what could have been done differently. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to self-defense survival, it's unpredictable. There's no manual of, hey, this is what's going to happen every time, right? We're humans. Humans operate differently all around, right, the world. So like I was telling her, right? So if this is a situation, I'm here and I'm walking, and I think someone's walking behind me, and I stop, make sure that no one can get from behind my back, so they can only attack me from the front. If they decide to attack, I know someone coming. At that point, prevention, just as if I was sitting on the subway or sitting in the street, someone was walking towards me frontal, I'm just like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with you walking so close to me. Could you walk a little bit further away, right? And that person may just ignore you, right? Or they may say, comply and walk away. But if they ignore you, hey, I don't feel comfortable. Like, could you please, I don't want to have to attack you. Now, at this point, the person may go, no, you're overreacting. Like, you're being extra, whatever verbiage they may use. But they're going to redirect themselves if they're not intending to attack you. And if they're intending to attack you, they're going to keep coming, and then you execute those moves. And so in that situation, if she had done that, right, like I said before, and I use these words specifically, if she'd done that, it would have given her a better advantage. Not saying it would have prevented the attack, not saying that the guy wouldn't have tried to hit her, but it would have given her a better advantage because now she's communicated body language-wise. She communicated body language-wise by stopping like this, right? But now she's also communicating verbally, right? Because as we all know, right, it's hard sometimes to read people's body language. For those people who are in partnerships, you may see your partner, they may be sitting sulking and you may think that they're sad and they're not sad, but maybe their body's sore, right? Or they're just not talking to you and just because their mind's someplace else, right? That's because we misread body language, right? So body language is the first thing, but then that verbalizing communicates the body language with certainty, right? So if I'm like this, like, hey, don't walk close to me now, communicate that. And then now, once again, if at this point I still feeling safe, I put those hands up. And with the body language, the verbalization with the hands, like there's a very certain, like, okay, I let you know how I feel and what I'm willing to do. If you continue, then you're forcing me to and allowing me to execute to ensure that I get out of the situation alive and I survive. Because that's the one thing you have to have is that mindset that you are surviving, but you're getting out alive. That is the key. And that's the number one thing that matters. You get out alive, right? It doesn't matter if that person gets hurt. It doesn't matter if they get incapacitated. It doesn't matter if they die. It matters that they decided to attack you. You defended yourself. You survived and you got out alive. All right. So what other questions do we have before we get out of here, before we end? All right. So I know that was a little bit long answer for the striking. This if you when striking, making a sound, right, went to a little tangent there, but that is that answer, right, with some other facts, some other information. All right. So any other questions today? Any other questions? Comments? Anything at all? Well, if not, I appreciate you all for joining me once again every Thursday. You can sign up Fridays at 12 here on the Cohen Network. Please leave feedback on the feedback app. I take that feedback, and that's how I've refined these courses. Right? Because with this course, I have a general framework and structure for it, but I want to ensure I fine tune it accordingly. So if you're like, hey, I want to see more of this, or I want to see more of that, and of course, you can always, while we're here in the class, put it in the chat. You can come off mute and ask it, and we can ask specific scenarios, right? If you're like, hey, Gardy, yesterday I was walking down an alley and I saw these three people at the edge of the alley. I kept walking because the entrance to the bar was down the alley. Nothing happened, but if those three people decided to attack me, what course of action would I have had, right? Some people have asked, like, hey, if I'm being attacked like two people, right, what do I do, right? So things like that are things that I can add to the course and that I can also answer impromptu if you have those, all right? So once again, my name is Gardier, former active duty U.S. Marine. So happy birthday to the Marines out there, and happy early Veterans Day. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, so happy early Veterans Day to those who served. I'm here on the Cohen Network teaching self-defense survival training here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then it'll be going to, I think, yeah, we already did daylight savings time, so we're in it. So for those who are in other parts of the world watching this course or on this course now, the time may be a little different than normal, but I'm here. If you have any questions, if you don't want to wait till Thursday to ask any questions, or if you want to do some training at GYJCMan on Instagram, I'm going to start posting some more self-defense, some of these snippets from this class, some other tips and tricks to execute and use. Appreciate you for joining me. Remember, tomorrow's